All right, Brian, so let's dive right in. Let's talk about sort of at a glance, what does our survey respondent, a Abound Wealth client, actually look like? And the best place for us to start around their visual to the world around them is net worth. It's one thing we talk about all the times. And the net worth, as you would suspect, was pretty exciting.
Yeah. Now, just for those who are brand new to our content, net worth is it's comparing and contrasting what you own. Mm-hmm. That's your assets. What you owe, that's your liabilities. And if you combine those to know what you net have, that is your net worth. And that's what we wanted to kind of open up the curtains. We surveyed thousands of our clients, and here's what they came back with, is that the median net worth, $2.2 million.
Yeah, I think it's wild. A lot of people are surprised to see this. Yes, there are some folks that are in that $10 million plus range. And we do have a number of clients that have not yet hit that millionaire status. But the vast majority, the lion's share of our clients, 80% of them are right there in that $1 million to $5 million range. And if you're someone out there thinking, oh, I wish I knew what my net worth was, I wish I knew where I fell out, we have a tool that you can use at learn.moneyguide.com. This is the exact same tool that Brian and I use every single year to track our net worth so that we know where we're at on our journey to financial independence.
Bo, I feel like we came out hot because we're first thing we just roll out is net worth of what's going on with our survey clients. Now we're going to talk about even something that is definitely taboo to talk about at dinner parties. What's their incomes?
Yeah, this is a wild one because, and look, income is important, but it's not everything. And I want that to be clear. But as we surveyed our clients, the data was pretty interesting. If you look at all the client responses, the median household income for our clients was about $250,000. And the average, again, skewed by a handful of outliers, is about $330,000. So certainly higher income earning households, but it's not a majority of folks that are making $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. The vast majority of our clients fell in that income range between like $100,000 to $400,000.
Now, remember, this is of working clients because we have retired over there. That's a small percentage. But look at this, is that there was 12% of our clients who answered the survey made less than $100,000.
I want you to say that again because that's so powerful.
12% of our clients actually make less than $100,000.
So an income can be incredibly useful because it allows you to create margin, but it's not an absolute necessity. So no matter where you are in your financial journey, as you're moving towards financial independence, we have a belief here that financial independence and building wealth is available to all income levels.
I would encourage people, though, if you're one of these, because you're aspirational, like Bo and I were at the beginning of our journeys, and you're not making the income you want, do look at this and say, hey, maybe what can I do to increase my shovel size? Because we're not saying it's not important, though, because I think it is quite interesting that our median income is definitely well above what the average American is making.
But when you think about increasing the shovel, one of the ways a lot of our clients did that was through their education. So we asked some questions around education. When you were coming up, did you go to public school? Did you go to private school? What did that look like? And I thought it was kind of interesting how the data came back.
Yeah, you would think, I think probably stereotypical. If we said, what do you think, people? We would say, well, they must go to Ivy League schools.
Harvard
they must be
Stanford
very fancy schools. No, it's just the opposite of that. Is that if you look at, let's first talk about K through 12 education. You know, how did people get their foundational education? 77%. Public schools.
So 3 out of 4 went to a public K through 12 school.
Okay, and then you say, okay, how about college? What did they do? What type of, to get their first undergrad, what did they do? 69% went to public colleges.
So 7 out of 10 didn't go to some private university, didn't go to some Ivy League. They went into public college undergraduate studies. Then you have the private attenders. About 11% went to K through 12 and about 21% went to private undergrad. And then there were a number that did some combination or had some sort of research, but the vast majority didn't feel like they had to go pay absolute top dollar for some prestigious education in order to do what they wanted to do vocationally. And we talk about all the time, Brian, that one of the things that's so sad today is that so many graduates come out of school and they are now saddled with this student loan debt that they don't just take through the first year, 2, 3 years. They might even take it through the first couple decades of their working career, and that's a sad
Yeah, we
statistic.
actually have a rule that we want to try to keep you safe, and we just stay in the guardrails of, hey, make sure you keep your student loans below what your anticipated first year of salary out of school will be. If you can do that, you have a very good chance that you'll get a return on your investment into your education. You'll actually not be saddled with so much debt that that income coming out won't let you vanquish it pretty quickly.
And so we asked our clients, okay, did you follow this? Were you someone who followed the first year financing rule? And it was amazing. So 50% of our respondents said they actually didn't graduate with any student loans. They were either able to make it through or they were able to get scholarships and grants. But 39% of those followed the first year financing rule. Only 11% did not follow the first year financing rule. I'm going to imagine that 11% was probably some of the more specialized fields, the medical professionals or those who got an advanced degree. It was wild that if you look at this in total, 89% of our clients, almost 9 out of 10, recognize that graduating college with tons of student loan debt is a very difficult way to get ahead on your financial journey.
Yeah, and I don't mind sharing because, I have a daughter who's a senior in college this year, so we're kind of closing out this whole college experience. And I was lamenting in one of our content meetings the comparing and contrasting between her scholarship that covered 60% of the cost of her education plus the 529s that we did. She's going to graduate college with the blessing of 0 student loan debt.
It's amazing.
But I was thinking about some of her friends that she grew up with that I know for a fact are coming out of college without these are not like they're not going to be doctors or attorneys, but they're going to come out of school with 6 figures of student loan debt.
Wild.
You think about the compare and contrast of what that financial journey looks like coming out with 6 figures of debt versus 0 debt. That's why I think it's important for somebody, if you are a parent or you are a young person looking at this content, be very deliberate with how you pay and structure your education.
And because if you do graduate with a lot of college loan debt, it's going to affect one of the most powerful tools that you have. We've already talked about, income is important and it is powerful, but it's probably not the most powerful thing when it comes to wealth building. But one of the things that probably is the most powerful is your savings rate. And so we asked our clients, okay, when it comes to saving, when it comes to building towards financial independence, when it comes to exercising that muscle of discipline, in order to create some margin, what does your margin creation look like? And it was amazing and truthfully not incredibly surprising to us that our Financial Mutant Abound Wealth clients, 43% of our clients are saving 25% or greater of their gross income.
Well, and that stat goes even higher because we have 16% are retired.
Are actual retirees.
Retired on this when it comes to savings rate and falling into the stats. So it actually pushes that number over 51% of our working clients. But let's also don't shy away from the fact that those who aren't even saving 25%, there was another 20% that were in that comfortable zone of 20 to 24%. That's right. So maybe these were people who followed my lead, is that when you got in your 40s, you took a measurement and said, hey, I'm ahead of the curve. Maybe I can dial this down to 20% or 23%. I still think it's pretty amazing that Financial Mutants actually really exercise that discipline muscle well.
And I think it's because they understand that, man, if I can do this, it can have a huge impact. And people ask us all the time, okay, how did you guys come up with 25%? Why is that the thing that you hang your hat on? And the reason is because we've actually run the numbers. If you haven't done this, go out to moneyguide.com/resources and download this deliverable titled, How Much Should You Save? And it shows at different ages what savings rate would allow you to create some sort of future lifestyle. So if I save 10%, what does my retirement lifestyle look like? If I save 25%, what does it look like? And what we found is that the meaty part of the curve, where the distribution is, where most people are able to start saving and building, is at that 25% savings threshold. So the earlier you get there, the earlier you figure that out, the more flexibility you're going to give yourself later in life. And I would argue, Brian, our Abound Wealth clients have figured that out and recognized how powerful that can be.